The vast majority of people will never build the morning routine they dream of. They will last for 3, maybe 4 days, fueled by a fleeting burst of motivation. But soon the old patterns will return, bringing with them a familiar and heavy sense of personal failure. This isn't because they are weak. It's because the enemy they are fighting isn't lazy or disciplined. The real enemy is a deep, unexamined fear of what they will find in the silence. It's late. The house is quiet. And you are alone with your thoughts, the way you often are when you seek out a space like this. There is a reason you are here. In the glow of this screen, searching. It's not for answers, not really. It's for a feeling of peace. A feeling of stillness that seems to get lost the moment your feet touch the floor in the morning. We are told to build habits, to construct a better life, brick by brick. But what they don't tell you is how heavy those bricks feel at 6 in the morning. They don't talk about the quiet dread that settles in just before the alarm rings. There is a war that is fought every single morning. A silent war between who you want to be and who you were yesterday. It begins with the promise you made the night before. Tomorrow, I will be different. You set the alarm, you lay out the clothes, you prepare the battlefield for a victory. And then, the morning comes. The alarm sounds like an accusation. The first battle is lost with a single motion, the snooze button. The second battle is lost when your hand, with a mind of its own, finds the cold glass of your phone. And with a flick of the thumb, the gates are thrown open to a tidal wave of noise, notifications, and anxiety. The day is lost before it has even begun. And what follows is a familiar heavy feeling. A quiet, simmering shame. A voice that whispers, "You are weak. You lack discipline. You will never change." We believe this narrative. But what if it isn't true? The Roman Stoic Seneca saw that. Our struggles often come from a misunderstanding of ourselves. We think the problem is that we are not trying hard enough. The real problem is that we are fighting the wrong war. The Stoic approach isn't about more force. It is about more wisdom. This isn't a list of chores. This is a new way to see your morning. A new way to see yourself. There's a silence that lives in the heart of the night. A silence most of us only meet by accident. When we wake from a bad dream, or when a worry becomes so loud it shakes us from our sleep. In these moments, the world feels stripped down to its essence. There are no distractions, no emails to answer, no calls to make. There is only you, the darkness, and the steady, quiet rhythm of your own breathing. And in that profound stillness, a question often surfaces, a question we are too busy to ask during the day. Is this all there is? Is my life meant to be this cycle of exhaustion and obligation, of waking with a sense of dread and sleeping with a sense of incompletion? This feeling, this deep spiritual restlessness, is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that something within you is trying to wake up. It is the first whisper of a call you have been taught your entire life to ignore. Today, we are not going to talk about becoming a morning person. We are not going to discuss productivity hacks or life tips. We are going to talk about the single most fundamental act of human freedom. An act that occurs every single day in the precious moments between the world of sleep and the world of striving. We are going to talk about the habit of waking with purpose. Not just opening your eyes, but answering a call from the deepest part of your own being. The sound is an assault for a creature wrapped in the warmth and safety of the womb-like darkness of sleep. The morning alarm is an act of violence. It is a siren, a shriek, a mechanical tearing of the soft fabric of a dream. And in the split second after the noise begins, a choice is presented. It is perhaps the most important choice we will make all day, because it sets the tone for every choice that follows. The body, a creature of pure, gravitational comfort, screams for more warmth, more rest, more escape. The mind, already anticipating the day's burdens, floods with a form of quiet, low-grade dread. It remembers the difficult email waiting in the inbox. It feels the weight of the presentation. It anticipates the traffic, the demands, the endless list of tasks that define modern life. And in this moment of weakness, a voice, a deeply seductive and logical voice, begins its negotiation. Just 5 more minutes. You deserve it. You're so tired. What difference will it really make? The world can wait. And so we surrender. We press the snooze button. It seems like such a small act, an insignificant compromise. But it is a profound declaration. In that single motion, we have told ourselves, we have told the universe, that our comfort is more important than our word. That the warmth of the blanket holds more power over us than the promises we made to ourselves just hours before. We have chosen to remain a creature of instinct, rather than a being of intention. This is the first defeat in a silent war we fight every morning. And it is a war we are destined to lose if we continue to fight it on the wrong terms. We believe the enemy is our tiredness, our weakness, our lack of willpower. We think we need to be stronger, more disciplined, more forceful. But the Stoics, those ancient masters of the human soul, would tell us we are misunderstanding the entire battle. The problem isn't that we are weak. The problem is that we have forgotten why we are getting up in the first place. We have lost the signal in the noise. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, a man who held the fate of the known world in his hands, fought this same battle every single morning. He was not a god. He was a man. He felt the pull of the warm bed. He felt the dread of the long day ahead, filled with petty courtiers, endless petitions, and the burdens of an empire. And in his private journal, a book he never intended for publication, he gave himself the antidote. He coached himself. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm?" Let us sit with the depth of this for a moment. This is not the scolding of a drill sergeant. This is the gentle but firm reminder from a loving teacher. He is not saying, "You are lazy, get up." He is asking a question that cuts to the very core of our existence. What is your nature? Is it your nature, as a human being, to seek only comfort, like an animal seeking a warm patch of sun? Or is it your nature to rise, to create, to contribute, to engage with the world with virtue and intention? He continues, "You don't love yourself enough, or you'd love your nature too, and what it demands of you." This reframes everything. Waking up is not a chore you are forced to do. It is an act of self-love. It is an expression of respect for your own potential. Hitting the snooze button is not a small act of rebellion. It is a small act of self-betrayal. It is a quiet statement that you do not believe you are worthy of the day that has been given to you. The first habit, then, is to completely redefine the alarm clock. It is not an enemy. It is a signal. It is a call to think of it this way. Imagine you are a watchman stationed on the highest tower of a great city. You have been given a sacred duty to watch for the first light of dawn and to sound the horn that lets the entire city know that a new day has arrived, that it is time to begin the work of life. Now imagine that when you see the first glimmer of light on the horizon, you see the signal, but you decide to roll over and go back to sleep. You have not just failed in a task, you have abandoned your post. You have betrayed the trust that was placed in you. Every morning, you are that watchman. Your higher self, your own rational mind, is the one who set the alarm. It placed a trust in you. It said, "At this hour, we have agreed to rise. We have agreed to begin." The alarm is the signal you yourself have arranged. When it sounds, the call is coming from within. The choice is simple. Do you answer your own call, or do you leave it ringing? Let's address the great objection. but I am not a morning person. This is one of the most common labels we apply to ourselves, and it is a cage of our own making. The Stoics would argue there is no such thing as a morning person or a night person. There are only human beings, and the nature of a human being, their core function, their ergon, is to use reason to live a life of virtue. This function is not dependent on the time of day. When we say, "I'm not a morning person," what are we really saying? We are often saying, "I feel groggy and unmotivated when I wake up." This is a biological fact for many. But the Stoics would challenge us to separate the biological sensation from the philosophical choice. The feeling of grogginess is an external impression. It is something that happens to you. Your response to that feeling is entirely within your control. You can feel tired and still choose to stand up. You can feel unmotivated and still choose to act. The act of rising is not dependent on feeling good. It is dependent on understanding your duty. The duty is not to the world, not to your boss, not yet. The first duty is to your own character. It is the duty to honor the agreement you made with yourself. To rise is the first proof you offer yourself. Each day that your rational mind, not your fleeting feelings or your body's craving for comfort, is what is in charge. This is the foundation of all self-respect. So how do we do this in the most practical sense? It begins the night before. You must know why you are getting up. Not just a vague idea of being more productive. It must be something meaningful. Perhaps it is to have 30 minutes of quiet, stillness before the children wake up. Perhaps it is to work on that novel you dream of writing. Perhaps it is simply to greet the dawn with a clear mind. Have a reason, a noble reason. Write it down if you have to. This reason is the fuel. Then, when the alarm rings, do not think. Thinking is the enemy in this moment. The moment you begin to think, the creature of comfort will begin its negotiation. And it is a master debater. Instead, use a rule, like the one popularized by Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. The moment the alarm sounds, you count backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on 1, you move. You physically move your body. Sit up. Swing your legs over the side of the bed. Stand. This small action is a physiological and psychological pattern interrupt. It breaks the cycle of hesitation and resistance. You have not given your mind the space to talk you out of it. You have acted. You have answered the call. And in that moment of standing, in the cool air of the dark room, you have done something magnificent. You have closed the gap between your intention and your action. You have aligned your higher self with your physical self. You have performed the first, most fundamental act of a sovereign human being. You have chosen purpose over comfort. This single act, repeated day after day, begins to carve new pathways in your mind. It builds a quiet, unshakable confidence. The rest of the day may be chaotic. You may face setbacks. People may disappoint you, but you will carry with you the silent, powerful knowledge that the first battle of the day was met and you were victorious. You did not conquer an external enemy. You simply answered the call of your own highest nature. This is not about waking up at 5 a.m. It is not about hustle culture. It is about dignity. It is about waking up at the time you said you would wake up, whether that is 8 a.m. or 5 a.m., and honoring that commitment as if it were a sacred vow. Because it is. It is the vow that you are the one who is in command of your own life. The world will make its demands soon enough. The noise will come. But in this first act, you declare that your day will begin on your terms from a place of purpose. You are the watchman who has sounded the horn. You are the one who has chosen to meet the dawn. And that choice, that small, quiet act of integrity, changes everything that follows. You are standing. The first battle has been won. You have answered the call and risen from the warmth of the bed. Your feet are on the floor. And now you face the second great challenge of the morning. A challenge that is in many ways more subtle and more difficult than the first. You face the challenge of the void. The immediate impulse, the reflex ingrained in us by modern life, is to fill the void. To turn on the lights, to check the phone, to start the coffee maker, to unleash the noise of the day. Our minds, terrified of being left alone with themselves, scramble for the nearest distraction. The phone in particular calls to us like a siren. It promises connection, information, and an escape from the uncomfortable silence of our own being. It offers to numb the low-grade anxiety that hums just beneath the surface of our awareness. To reach for that phone is to surrender the victory you just won. It is to rise from your bed only to immediately invite 1,000 screaming strangers into your mind before you've even had a chance to greet yourself. The second habit, then, is an act of profound rebellion against the noise of the modern world. It is the practice of stillness. It is the choice for just 1 to 5 minutes to do nothing. To simply be. You stand or you sit on the edge of your bed and you allow the silence to be what it is. You allow the darkness to be what it is. You allow your own mind to be what it is. And this, for most of us, is terrifying. Why are we so afraid of silence? Because in the silence, the things we are running from will catch up to us. The unresolved anxieties, the mental to-do lists, the nagging regrets, the formless worries, they all surface in the quiet. Our addiction to distraction is not a character flaw. It is a frantic and ultimately futile attempt to outrun our own minds. The Stoics offered a powerful metaphor for understanding and mastering this inner world, the inner citadel. They believed that within each of us exists a fortress of the mind, a place of ultimate safety and peace that no external event can ever conquer. Your job, your health, other people's opinions, the chaos of the world, none of these things can breach the walls of the citadel unless you, the commander of the fortress, grant them permission. The morning is the time when you, as the commander, inspect your defenses. When you wake up and immediately grab your phone, you are not just opening the main gate. You are giving the keys to the entire fortress to a raging, chaotic mob. You are allowing the anxieties and demands of the world to storm your citadel before you've even had a chance to post a watchman on the walls. The practice of stillness is the act of that watchman. It is you, as the commander, calmly walking the perimeter of your own mind. As you sit in silence, the anxious thoughts will arrive. At the gates, you will feel a jolt of worry about an upcoming meeting. You will feel a pang of regret over something you said yesterday. You will feel the urgent pull to check your email. The untrained mind makes a critical error in this moment. It identifies with the thoughts. It believes, I am anxious. It believes, I am my to-do list. It merges with the chaos at the gates and becomes part of the mob. The Stoic practice, particularly as taught by Epictetus, is to create a space between you and your impressions. Epictetus taught his students to challenge their thoughts, to greet them at the gate like a guard questioning a stranger. When an anxious thought appears, you are to say to it, you are just an impression and not at all what you appear to be. In your morning stillness, you practice this. The thought arrives, I have so much to do today, I'll never get it all done. Instead of letting it overwhelm you, you greet it with calm awareness. There is the thought of overwhelm. I see it. It is an impression. It is a story. It is not me. You are not fighting the thought. You are not suppressing it. You are simply observing it from the safety of the fortress wall. You are realizing, in a profoundly experiential way, that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that is. Aware of your thoughts, you are the sky. The thoughts are just clouds passing through. This changes everything. The goal of morning stillness is not to have an empty mind. That is impossible. The goal is to see your mind for what it is, a torrent of thoughts, feelings, and sensations that you do not have to be swept away by. Let's make this incredibly practical. For the next week, try this. After you stand up, habit 1, do not take a single step. Instead, sit back down on the edge of your bed. Set a timer on a simple clock, not your phone, for just 1 minute. Close your eyes for that 1 minute. Your only job is to feel your feet flat on the floor and to notice your breath moving in and out. That's it. Your mind will race. It will fight you. It will tell you this is a waste of time. It will present you with 1,000 seemingly urgent thoughts. Your job is not to stop these thoughts, but simply to notice them, and each time you get lost in one, to gently guide your attention back to the feeling of your feet on the floor. Each time you guide your attention back, you are performing a single, powerful rep of a mental push-up. You are strengthening the muscle of your attention. You are reinforcing the role of the commander of the citadel. You are training yourself to be the master of your mind, rather than its slave. This practice, even for 1 minute, begins to physiologically change your brain. It calms the amygdala, the brain's fear center that is constantly scanning for threats, like an overdue bill or an angry email. It strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought, decision-making, and emotional regulation. You are, in a very real sense, upgrading your own mental hardware. What if that fear of being alone with your thoughts is just a misunderstanding? What if those thoughts are not a threat, but simply neutral information that you have the power to examine and dismiss? What if the silence you are so afraid of is actually the source of all your strength? The world will demand your attention all day. It will pull you, push you, and try to consume you. This habit of stillness is you, claiming the first few moments for yourself. You are drawing a line in the sand. You are declaring that before you engage with the world's chaos, you will first connect with your own center. This is an act of deep reverence for your own consciousness. It is the quiet understanding that the quality of your entire day, and indeed your entire life, is determined not by the events that happen to you, but by the state of the mind that is perceiving those events. By starting your day in stillness, you are choosing to polish the lens through which you will see the world. You are choosing peace. You are choosing strength. You are choosing yourself. The stillness has settled your mind. You have stood on the walls of your inner citadel and observed the morning chaos without being swept away. You now possess a fragile peace. The purpose of the third habit, journaling, is to take that fragile peace and forge it into durable clarity. If stillness is the act of observing your thoughts, journaling is the act of cross-examining them. The human mind is a master storyteller, but it is often a deeply unreliable narrator. It spins tales of catastrophe, exaggerates slights, and predicts futures that will never come to pass. Anxiety is the fog created by these unexamined stories. Journaling is the act of turning on the floodlights. When we hear the word journaling, many of us picture a diary, a place to vent our emotions and record the day's events. While that has its use, the Stoic practice of journaling is something different. It is not passive, it is active. It is not a monologue, it is a dialogue. It is a private, written conversation with your own rational mind, your inner guide. Seneca, in his letters, speaks of a practice he did each evening, reviewing his day and asking himself, what ailment have I cured today? What fault have I resisted? Where have I shown improvement? We can adapt this powerful practice for the morning. Instead of reviewing the day that has passed, we can prospectively train for the day that is to come. The journal is not a diary. It is a gymnasium for the mind. It is your philosophical training ground. So you sit down with a blank page and a simple pen. The blankness is intimidating, but it is also an opportunity. Here, you can take the formless anxieties you observe during your stillness and give them form. Examine them under the harsh light of reason and rob them of their power. The most potent exercise you can perform on this page comes directly from the teachings of Epictetus, the dichotomy of control. This is the bedrock of all Stoic practice. The idea is simple but life-changing. Some things in life are up to us, and some are not. A happy, tranquil life is only possible when we learn to distinguish between the two, focusing our energy entirely on the former and accepting the latter with grace. Your journal is where you practice this distinction. You create 2 columns on the page. In the first column, you write, "Things not within my control." Under this heading, you list everything you are worried about for the coming day, that you have no direct power over. The traffic on the way to work, whether your boss will like your presentation. The fact that a coworker seems to be in a bad mood, a sudden change in the weather, the final outcome of a project, which depends on many people. Whether you will receive a specific email you are waiting for. As you write these down, something magical happens. By externalizing them, by seeing them written in ink, you separate yourself from them. You are objectifying your anxieties. You are admitting, with radical honesty, that spending even 1 ounce of your precious mental energy worrying about these things is a complete and utter waste of time. It is like trying to command the tides. You are consciously, deliberately, letting them go. You are unburdening your mind before the day has even begun. In the second column, you write, "Things within my control." This is where you reclaim your power. Under this heading, you list your intended responses and actions related to the items in the first column. I can't control the traffic, but I can control my attitude while sitting in it. I can choose to listen to a helpful podcast instead of raging at the car in front of me. I can't control if my boss likes the presentation, but I can control the effort I put into it, the clarity of my slides, and the passion with which I deliver it. I can focus on my own excellence. I can't control my coworkers' mood, but I can control my response to it. I can choose to be patient, kind, and professional, regardless of how they act. I can't control the outcome of the project, but I can control my own contributions, my integrity, and my willingness to be a good team member. Do you see the shift? You are moving from the passive position of a victim of circumstance to the active position of a rational agent. You are no longer focused on the 1,000 things that might happen to you, but on the handful of things that you will do. You are defining your own role in the day's drama. Another powerful journaling practice is the premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This sounds grim, but it is actually a profound tool for building resilience and peace. Instead of hoping for the best, you take a moment to imagine things going wrong. What if you do get stuck in traffic and are late for your meeting? What if your presentation is criticized? What if the project fails? You don't wallow in these possibilities. You calmly and rationally think through them. If I am late for the meeting, I will apologize sincerely, explain briefly without making excuses, and focus on contributing from the moment I arrive. It will be uncomfortable, but I will survive. I will use it as an opportunity to practice my composure. By imagining the worst in a controlled, rational way, you rob it of its terror. The fear of the unknown is always greater than the fear of the known. By looking your fears in the eye on the page, they shrink. You realize that you have the resources, both internal and external, to handle whatever the day throws at you. You have, in essence, rehearsed for difficulty. The journal is your private sanctuary for this work. It is a space free from judgment, where you can be ruthlessly honest with yourself. It is the place where you untangle the knots of your own thinking. You don't need to write for hours. 5 to 10 minutes is all it takes. The consistency of the practice is more important than the duration. Some days you might fill a page. Other days you might just write down the 2 columns. What if the reason you feel so anxious and overwhelmed is not because your life is uniquely difficult, but because your thoughts about your life are uniquely unexamined? What if the key to mental clarity is not a more organized calendar, but a more organized mind? The page is the tool for that organization. It is a mirror that reflects your own thoughts back at you. allowing you to see their distortions, their biases, and their patterns. Through the simple act of writing, you transform from being a prisoner of your own mind to becoming its curious and compassionate observer, and ultimately, its wise and gentle ruler. The emotional shift is one of profound relief. It is the feeling of putting down a heavy, invisible weight you didn't even realize you were carrying. You have cleared the mental fog with your journal. You have separated what you can control from what you cannot. You have looked your fears in the eye. Now the landscape of your mind is clear. But a clear landscape is not enough. You need a destination. You need a direction. The fourth habit, setting an intention, is the act of drawing the map for the day. This is a crucial step that must be distinguished from the previous habit of journaling, and also from the common practice of creating a to-do list. A to-do list is a list of what's. It is a collection of external tasks. Call the client, finish the report, buy groceries. While useful, a to-do list can often be a source of anxiety in itself. It represents a mountain of obligations, and we often find ourselves paralyzed at the foot of it, not knowing where to begin. An intention is different. An intention is a how and a who. It is the guiding principle, the inner quality that you want to bring to all the what's on your to-do list. It is your North Star for the day. If the journal clears the path, the intention sets the compass. The Stoics understood the importance of having a chief aim. Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Without a clear destination, you are simply adrift, pushed and pulled by the currents of other people's priorities, by the winds of your own fleeting moods, and by the storms of external events. You become a purely reactive being. Setting an intention is the act of choosing your port for the day. It is a single powerful sentence that defines your ultimate purpose for the next 24 hours. So, after you have finished your journaling, you pause. You look at the day ahead with all its challenges and opportunities that you have just outlined. And you ask yourself a simple but profound question. Who do I want to be today? Not what do I want to achieve, but who do I want to be? The answer to this question becomes your intention. It should be focused on a virtue, an internal state, something that is entirely within your control. Perhaps yesterday you were impatient with your family. Your intention today might be, today my chief aim is to practice patience and listen without interrupting. Perhaps you have a difficult and intimidating project to work on. Your intention might be, today I will embody focused courage, working on my most important task for 1 hour without distraction. Perhaps you feel overwhelmed by negativity. Your intention could be, today I will actively look for the good in others and express my appreciation. Notice how these intentions are different from goals. A goal is an outcome, which is often outside your direct control. Get a promotion is a goal. An intention is a process, a way of being, which is always within your control. Perform my work with excellence and integrity is an intention. You can fulfill your intention perfectly, even if you don't get the promotion. The Stoic finds peace and self-worth in the intention, not the outcome. Think of your intention as the rudder of a massive ship. The ship is your life for the day, with all its cargo of tasks, meetings, and interactions. The rudder is a tiny part of the ship, but it determines the entire vessel's direction. Your single sentence intention is that rudder. Let's imagine a day for two different people. Both have the same to-do list, a stressful meeting at 10 a.m., a deadline at 3 p.m., and family obligations in the evening. Person A wakes up, checks their phone, and dives into the day. They are immediately stressed. They rush through their morning, arrive at the meeting feeling agitated, speak defensively, and create tension with their colleagues. They struggle to focus on the report for the deadline, distracted by the drama from the meeting. By the evening, they are exhausted and irritable with their family, feeling like a victim of a terrible day. Person B wakes up, and after their stillness, And journaling sets an intention. Today, I will be a calming and steady presence for myself and for others. They hold this intention in their mind. Before the stressful meeting, they take a deep breath and remind themselves, calm and steady. During the meeting, when things get tense, they choose their words carefully, listening more than they speak. They act as a force for de-escalation. After the meeting, they feel centered, not drained. They approach their report with focus, their mind unburdened by drama. In the evening, they bring that same calm and steady presence to their family. At the end of the day, the external events were the same. But person B feels a sense of integrity and peace. Their day was not a series of chaotic reactions, but a unified expression of their chosen purpose. The rudder held them on course. This is not a magic trick. It is a practice of focus. Your intention becomes a mantra, a single point of reference you can return to throughout the day. When you feel yourself getting pulled into gossip, you remember your intention. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, you remember your intention. When you feel anger or frustration rising, you remember your intention. It is your anchor in the storm of daily life. What if the feeling of being a passenger in your own life could be cured by a single sentence? What if the key to navigating the complexity of your day isn't a better app or a more detailed plan, but a clearer and more noble purpose? The practice is simple. At the bottom of your journal page, write, "My intention," and complete the sentence. Make it visible. Keep it in your mind. It is the most important task of your day because it is the one that gives meaning and direction to all the others. The shift is from a life of scattered fragments to a life of integrated wholeness. Each action, from the most mundane task to the most important meeting, becomes an opportunity to practice your intention. You are no longer just doing things, you are being someone. The person you have consciously chosen to be. The mind has been attended to. You have found stillness, achieved clarity, and set your course. Now we turn to the vessel that carries this mind through the world, the body. The fifth habit, immediate physical movement, is based on a principle the Stoics understood deeply, and modern science has since proven unequivocally. The mind and body are not separate entities. They are a deeply interconnected, unified system. To neglect one is to weaken the other. A mind that has been calmed and focused through the previous habits can quickly be pulled back into lethargy and fog if the body remains stagnant. The feeling of physical inertia, the heavy, sluggish sensation of a body at rest, creates a gravitational pull on our mental state. It whispers the same message as the warm blankets. Stay still, conserve energy, avoid effort. This habit is a direct physical refutation of that message. It is the act of waking up your body to align it with the awakened state of your mind. This is not about a grueling, hour-long workout. This is not about earning your breakfast or punishing your body. The purpose here is philosophical and physiological, not aesthetic. The goal is to simply, deliberately, and immediately move. Think of your body as an instrument, perhaps a finely crafted guitar. Overnight, its strings have slackened. It has fallen slightly out of tune. You would not expect to play beautiful music on an untuned instrument. The habit of morning movement is the act of tuning your instrument for the day. It is the gentle tightening of the strings, the calibration of the whole system, so that it can properly play the music of a virtuous and effective life. What does this practice look like? It can be incredibly simple. The key is immediacy and consistency. After setting your intention, before you do anything else, before the coffee, before the shower, before checking your phone, you dedicate 3 to 5 minutes to deliberate. Movement. It could be a series of simple stretches. As you reach your arms overhead, you are not just lengthening your spine. You are physically breaking the pattern of sleep, the curled, protective posture of rest. You are literally opening your body to the day. As you touch your toes, you feel the life in your muscles. a gentle ache that is not pain, but a signal of presence. You are grounding yourself in the physical reality of your own body, that it could be a short walk. Stepping outside, even for 5 minutes, is a powerful act. You feel the cool morning air on your skin, a sensation that shocks the system into a state of alertness. You notice the light, the sounds of the neighborhood waking up, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet. The Stoics were great walkers. They understood that walking is not just a physical exercise, it is a meditative one. It synchronizes the rhythm of the body with the rhythm of the world. It allows the mind to wander constructively, to process thoughts, and to find new perspectives. It could be a simple set of body weight exercises. 10 push-ups, 20 squats, a 30-second plank. The goal here is not to build massive strength, but to generate energy. When you engage your muscles, your heart rate increases, pumping oxygen-rich blood not just to your limbs, but to your brain. This act triggers a cascade of beneficial chemical reactions. Your body releases endorphins, the so-called feel-good chemicals that act as natural mood elevators. More importantly, it releases something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Scientists often refer to BDNF as miracle grow for the brain. It helps to protect existing neurons and encourage the growth of new ones. It improves memory, learning, and focus. So, when you are struggling to do those first few push-ups, reframe the sensation. You are not just pushing the floor away. You are pushing away mental fog. You are actively feeding your brain the very protein it needs to perform at its best. This is not a chore. It is a profound act of mental hygiene, performed through the medium of the body. Let's return to the metaphor of the instrument. A musician who respects their craft takes the time to tune their instrument before every performance. They know that without this preparation, their efforts will be clumsy and dissonant. Why should we treat the instrument of our own body with any less respect? Our performance is the day itself. Every interaction, every task, every decision is a note in the song of our day. By taking 5 minutes to tune our body, we ensure that we are capable of playing those notes with clarity, strength, and grace. Consider the alternative, the path most people take. They roll out of bed, body stiff and sluggish, and pour coffee into the system as a crude form of fuel. They sit hunched over a desk for hours, allowing the physical stagnation to deepen. They feel foggy, irritable, and disconnected, and they blame it on a lack of sleep or the coffee not being strong enough. They never consider that the root cause is a fundamental disconnect from their own physical being. What if the mental fog you fight all day could be cleared in the first 5 minutes of your morning? What if the key to more mental energy wasn't another cup of coffee, but a simple set of squats? The habit of morning movement is a declaration of unity. It is the statement that you are not a mind that happens to have a body, or a body that happens to have a mind. You are a single, integrated being. You are honoring the wisdom of the vessel that carries you. You are shaking off the dust of sleep and priming the entire system for the day to come. The emotional shift is from lethargy to vitality, from stagnation to readiness. It is the feeling of life flooding into your limbs and your mind. It is the simple, powerful, and undeniable feeling of being fully, vibrantly alive. You have not just prepared your mind for the day. You have prepared its indispensable partner. The instrument is tuned. Now it is ready to play. We have tuned the body. It is awake, alive, and energized. Now we must temper it. The sixth habit, voluntary discomfort, is perhaps the most countercultural and misunderstood of all Stoic practices, and yet it is one of the most powerful. It is the act of intentionally, and in a controlled way, stepping out of your comfort zone. It is the practice of building resilience by choosing a small, hard thing to do. Our modern world is a temple built to the god of comfort. From the climate-controlled rooms we live in, to the food delivered to our door, to the endless entertainment designed to soothe and distract us. Every aspect of our lives is engineered to remove friction, effort, and discomfort. We have come to see comfort as the ultimate good and its absence as a sign that something is wrong. The Stoics saw this as a grave danger. They knew that a life lived in constant pursuit of ease creates a soul that is soft, brittle, and utterly unprepared for the inevitable hardships of human existence. Seneca, in his letters to his friend Lucilius, repeatedly warns against a life of luxury and ease. He argues that it is like being a pampered animal, fattened in a cage, weak and useless for any real struggle. He wrote, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. And if we only ever walk on smooth, paved paths, we will never develop the strength to climb. Therefore, the Stoics practiced voluntary hardship. They would intentionally sleep on a hard floor, eat simple food for a few days, or walk in cold weather. Without a heavy cloak, they were not punishing themselves. They were vaccinating themselves. They were exposing their bodies and minds to small, controlled doses of discomfort to build up an immunity to the much larger, uncontrolled hardships that fate would inevitably send their way. This habit is the modern application of that ancient wisdom. It is about choosing one small difficult thing to do in the morning as a way of training your willpower and tempering your spirit. The most famous and perhaps most effective modern example of this is the cold shower. Let's be honest. The idea is dreadful. The thought of willingly subjecting your warm, comfortable body to a blast of icy water is repellent to every instinct we have. And that is precisely why it is so valuable. Imagine yourself standing before the shower. You have just finished your morning movement. Your body is warm and alive. You reach for the handle and your mind begins to scream. A torrent of perfectly logical excuses floods your consciousness. This is stupid. It's not necessary. It's going to be horrible. Just use the warm water. No one will know. What are you trying to prove? This moment, right here, is the training ground. That voice of weakness, of comfort seeking, of rationalization, that is the voice that holds you back in every area of your life. It is the voice that tells you not to speak up in the meeting, not to start the difficult project, not to have the honest conversation. It is the voice of your own fear. The practice of voluntary discomfort is the practice of hearing that voice, acknowledging it, and then calmly and deliberately doing the opposite. You turn the handle to cold. You take a breath, and you step in. First few seconds are a pure, primal shock. Your breath catches, your skin screams, your mind enters a state of panic. It wants out. This is the moment of maximum resistance. Your only job is to stay, to endure, to breathe, and then, after about 15 to 20 seconds, a miracle happens. The panic begins to subside. Your body, an incredibly adaptive machine, begins to adjust. Your breathing, which was shallow and panicked, starts to deepen. You are no longer fighting the sensation, you are meeting it. You realize that it is just a sensation. It is not killing you, it is just cold. When you step out of that shower after 1 or 2 minutes, you are not the same person who stepped in. You feel an electric surge of aliveness that is impossible to describe. The endorphin rush is powerful. But more important is the psychological victory. You have faced down the voice of weakness in your own mind and proven that you are in charge. You have started your day by doing the hardest thing you will likely do all day. Everything else that follows, the difficult email, the stressful commute, the challenging task, seems smaller in comparison. You have calibrated your scale of difficulty. The cold shower is the metaphor of the inner fire. We all have a fire of spirit, of vitality, of will within us. A life of constant comfort is like piling damp, heavy logs onto that fire. It smothers the flame, reducing it to a smoky, smoldering ember. The act of voluntary discomfort, the shock of the cold, the burn of the muscle, is like a powerful bellows. It forces a blast of oxygen onto the embers, and the fire roars back to life. This practice is not limited to cold showers. It can take many forms. It can be intermittent fasting, consciously enduring the small discomfort of hunger to teach your body and mind that you are not a slave to every passing craving. It can be exercising when you don't feel like it. The victory is not in the exercise itself, but in overcoming the initial resistance to do it. It can be tackling your most dreaded task first thing in the morning. Instead of procrastinating, you face the dragon immediately, drawing power from the confrontation. What if the anxiety and fragility you feel are not inherent parts of your personality, but simply the result of an untrained mind? What if courage is not an innate quality, but a skill that can be practiced and strengthened every single morning with one small, hard choice? By embracing voluntary discomfort, you are fundamentally changing your relationship with hardship. You stop seeing discomfort as something to be avoided at all costs and start seeing it as an opportunity for growth. You become an antifragile being, one who does not just endure stress, but actually becomes stronger because of it. The emotional shift is profound. It is a movement from a state of softness and avoidance to one of resilience, courage, and a deep, unshakable sense of your own capability. You have not just tempered your body, you have forged your will in the fires of a small, chosen challenge. The day has barely begun, and you have already proven to yourself that you are not someone who runs from difficulty. You are someone who steps into it. The will has been forged in the fire of discomfort. The body and mind are alert and ready. Now we must provide them with the proper nourishment. The seventh habit, reading wisdom, is about consciously curating your mental and spiritual diet. It is founded on a simple but profound truth. You become what you consume. Consider your physical diet. If you were to start every single day by eating 3 donuts and a sugary soda, you would not be surprised to find yourself feeling sluggish, unhealthy, and mentally foggy. You understand intuitively that the quality of the fuel you put into your body determines the quality of its performance. Yet, think about the diet we feed our minds. From the moment we wake, most of us begin a process of gorging on the mental equivalent of donuts and soda. We open our phones and consume an endless stream of information specifically engineered to make us feel agitated, anxious, envious, and outraged. The social media feed with its curated lives of others. The news headlines with their litany of crises and catastrophes. The petty arguments, the hot takes, the viral videos. This is not neutral information. It is mental junk food packed with emotional sugar and intellectual preservatives. We consume this diet for hours a day and then have the audacity to wonder why we feel so anxious, so scattered, so unable to focus, so disconnected from any sense of deeper meaning. We are suffering from a kind of spiritual malnutrition, and we are choosing it freely. The habit of reading wisdom is the antidote. It is the conscious, deliberate choice to start your day by consuming something nourishing, timeless, and true. It is the decision to trade the frantic, fleeting noise of the crowd for a quiet, intimate conversation with the greatest minds in human history. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, began his days this way. He did not consult with his generals or check the empire's financial reports first. He consulted with the philosophers who came before him. He read and he wrote to anchor his own mind in wisdom before the storms of the day could pull him off course. He knew that to rule an empire, he must first be able to rule himself, and that this self-rule required a daily dose of nourishing truth. The practice is simple. In the space you have created in your morning, you dedicate 10 to 15 minutes to reading from a book of wisdom. What constitutes a book of wisdom? It is any text that deals not with the urgent, but with the eternal. A text that addresses the fundamental questions of the human condition. How should one live? What is a good life? How does one find peace? In a chaotic world, how can we face suffering with courage and grace? The Stoics, of course, are a primary source. The meditations of Marcus Aurelius, the letters of Seneca, the discourses of Epictetus. These are not academic texts. They are practical manuals for living, written by men who were actively engaged in the world. But this practice is not limited to Stoicism. It could be the writings of the Buddha, the Tao Te Ching of Lao Tzu, the essays of Montaigne or Emerson, the poetry of Rumi or Mary Oliver, or the sacred texts of your own spiritual tradition. The key is that the text speaks to your soul, not just to your intellect. It should be a text that calms you, centers you, and connects you to something larger than your own immediate concerns. This is the metaphor of the clear mirror. Your mind is like a mirror. All day long, it will reflect whatever is held up to it. If you begin your day by holding up the cracked, distorted, and chaotic mirror of the internet, your mind will reflect back a world that is ugly, frantic, and anxiety-inducing. You will see a distorted version of yourself in it, lacking, falling behind, not enough. The practice of reading wisdom is the act of consciously choosing to hold up a different mirror first. It is a mirror that is clean, clear, and deep. In it, you do not see the frantic anxieties of the moment. You see the timeless truths of the human spirit. You see reflections of courage, resilience, compassion, and tranquility. And in seeing these things, you begin to recognize them in yourself. The mirror does not show you something you are not. It clarifies the image of who you truly are at your core. It reflects back to you your own highest potential. Consider the felt difference between two morning experiences. In the first, you sit down with your coffee and your phone. You scroll. A friend's vacation photo makes you feel envious. A political headline makes you feel angry. A work email makes you feel anxious. A silly video distracts you for a moment. After 15 minutes, you look up. You feel depleted, agitated, and slightly disgusted with yourself for wasting the time. You have consumed a cocktail of negative emotions, and you will carry that poison with you into your day. In the second experience, you sit down with your coffee and a book. You read a single passage from Epictetus. It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments about them. You close the book. You let the sentence land. You feel a sense of space opening up in your mind, a sense of empowerment. You realize that the difficult meeting you are worried about is not in itself the problem. The problem is your judgment that the meeting will be terrible, and that judgment is something you can change. You feel calmer, clearer, and more in control. You have consumed a dose of pure strength. What if the peace you are searching for is not something you need to find or create, but something that is already available to you, waiting on the pages of a book? What if mental clarity is simply a matter of changing your inputs? This habit is an act of quiet defiance. It is a declaration that you will be the curator of your own mind. You will consciously choose the ideas, the voices, and the influences that you allow to shape your thinking and your character. It is the decision to start your day with a conversation that elevates you, rather than one that diminishes you. The emotional shift is from a state of mental clutter and agitation to one of profound calm, clarity, and nourishment. You are not just reading words on a page. You are aligning your mind with the deep, slow, powerful currents of human wisdom that flow beneath the frantic surface of daily life. You are cleaning the mirror. You have consumed a dose of wisdom. You have held up the clear mirror and allowed its truths to quiet your mind. Now comes a crucial and often overlooked step: digestion. The eighth habit, reflection, is the process of taking the wisdom you have just read and making it your own. It is the bridge between intellectual understanding and lived experience. Reading wisdom without reflection is like swallowing a meal without chewing it. The nutrients are present, but your body cannot absorb them. The words may be inspiring in the moment, but they will pass through you without effect, forgotten as soon as the first urgent email arrives. Reflection is the act of mentally chewing on a single idea, breaking it down and integrating it into the very fabric of your being. If reading is the act of listening to a wise teacher, reflection is the act of having the conversation with that teacher about your own life. It is the most personal and intimate part of the morning practice. This practice can feel abstract. How exactly does one reflect? It is a quiet, internal process, but it can be guided by a structured approach. After you have finished your reading, you put the book down. You close your eyes, and you focus on a single sentence or idea that resonated with you. Let's use our example from the previous habit. You have read the words of Epictetus. It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments about them. Now, in the silence of reflection, you actively apply this principle to your own life. You can guide your reflection with a series of questions you ask yourself. Where in my life today am I being disturbed? You mentally scan the day ahead. The anxiety you feel is not formless. It is attached to specific events. I am disturbed by the upcoming performance review with my boss. I am disturbed by the difficult conversation I need to have with my partner. I am disturbed by the fact that my car is making a strange noise. You identify the specific event. What is the specific judgment I am attaching to this event? This is the critical step. You must isolate the story you are telling yourself about the event, about the performance review. My judgment is that it will be a confrontation, that my boss will criticize me, and that this will jeopardize my career. I am judging it as a threat. About the conversation, my judgment is that it will turn into a fight, that my partner won't understand, and that it will damage our relationship. I am judging it as a catastrophe. About the car, my judgment is that this will be an expensive repair, that I can't afford it, and that it will ruin my financial plans. I am judging it as a disaster. By stating the judgment so plainly, you begin to see it for what it is, a story, a prediction, a product of your own mind. What is a more rational, objective, and useful judgment I could make instead? This is where you actively practice changing your mind. You are not lying to yourself or engaging in blind optimism. You are searching for a more virtuous and rational perspective. On the review, a more rational judgment is that this is simply a conversation. It is an opportunity to receive feedback, some of which may be useful for my growth. My boss's opinion is external to me. My performance and my character are internal. I can approach this with openness and professionalism, regardless of the outcome. I will judge it as an opportunity to practice my composure. On the conversation, a more rational judgment is that this conversation is necessary for a healthy relationship. My intention is to speak my truth with kindness and to listen with an open heart. I cannot control my partner's reaction, but I can control my own contribution. I will judge it as an act of courage and love. On the car, a more rational judgment is that the noise is simply information. It is a problem to be solved. I will take the steps to get it diagnosed. If it is expensive, I will face that reality and make a plan. Panicking about it now does not fix the car. I will judge it as a problem to be addressed with practical reason. This internal dialogue is the core of reflection. It is the Socratic method applied to the self. You are acting as your own philosopher, your own therapist, your own coach. You are actively restructuring the architecture of your own mind. This process may seem like a lot of work, but it can happen in the space of just a few minutes. It is a mental muscle. The more you practice it, the faster and more intuitive it becomes. Eventually, you will find yourself doing it automatically in the middle of your day, in the heat of a difficult moment. You will feel a surge of anger, and a quiet voice will pop up. This is just an impression. What is a more rational judgment? You have internalized your own wise counsel. Reflection is the bridge that carries the wisdom of the ancient world into the reality of your 21st century life. Without it, the words of Marcus Aurelius are just interesting historical artifacts. With it, they become a living, breathing guide that can steer you through the most difficult moments of your day. What if the wisdom you seek is not in another book, but in your own ability to apply the wisdom you already have? What if the greatest teacher you could ever find is the quiet, rational voice that you can cultivate within yourself? The emotional shift is from passive consumption to active ownership. You are no longer just a student of philosophy. You are a practitioner. You feel a growing sense of self-reliance, an inner strength that is not dependent on external circumstances. The wisdom is no longer something you read. It is something you are becoming. It is being woven into your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. You are not just polishing the mirror. You are becoming the mirror, capable of reflecting clarity and wisdom back into the world. The mind has been cleared, focused, tempered, and nourished. We have done the deep internal work. Now in the final two habits, we turn our attention outward. We begin to change our relationship with the world itself. The ninth habit, the practice of gratitude, is one of the most transformative in the entire Stoic toolkit. It is the art and science of finding joy not in getting more, but in wanting what you already have. Our default human state is one of discontent. The mind is a perpetual wanting machine. We are constantly scanning our environment and our lives for what is missing, what is broken, what is not enough. If only I had a better job. If only I had a bigger house. If only my partner were more like this. This endless cycle of desire is what the Buddhists call suffering and what modern psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. We get the thing we want, feel a brief flicker of pleasure, and then our baseline of desire resets, and we begin wanting something new. We are always chasing a horizon that moves with us. The practice of gratitude is a radical act of rebellion against this default state. It is a conscious effort to redirect your attention away from what is lacking and toward what is present. It is a training of the mind to see the immense fortune that we are typically too busy or too jaded to notice. For the Stoics, gratitude was not a fluffy, sentimental emotion. It was a rational, philosophical discipline rooted in a clear-eyed perception of reality. They understood that everything we have, our health, our relationships, our possessions, our very next breath, is not guaranteed. It is a loan from fortune, a temporary gift that can be recalled at any moment. To be ungrateful for these things is not just bad manners. It is a form of insanity. It is to live in a palace and complain about the quality of the wallpaper. Seneca advised his friend Lucilius to regard all that you have as borrowed. He urged him to enjoy his children, his spouse, and his property, but to do so with the understanding that they were not his to keep forever. This may sound morbid, but its effect is the opposite. When you truly understand that something is temporary, you value it infinitely more. You do not take it for granted. The possibility of loss is what makes the present so precious. The practice of gratitude, then, is a morning meditation on what is good and present in your life. Like the other habits, it is simple and tactical. You can do this in your journal, or you can do it as a quiet mental exercise. The goal is to identify 3 to 5 specific things you are grateful for. Specificity is the key. Generic gratitude, "I'm grateful for my family," is a good start, but it lacks power. It is an abstract concept. Specific gratitude has an emotional charge. Instead of "I'm grateful for my family," you think, "I am grateful for the specific way my daughter laughed at breakfast yesterday." You allow yourself to recall the sound, the image, the feeling of that moment. Instead of "I'm grateful for my health," you think, "I am grateful for the feeling of my lungs filling with cool morning air and the simple, miraculous ability of my legs to carry me across the room." Instead of "I'm grateful for my home," you think, "I am grateful for this particular coffee cup, for the warmth it brings to my hands and the quiet ritual it represents." By focusing on these small, concrete details, You are anchoring your mind in the sensory reality of the present moment. You are pulling it away from the abstract anxieties about the future and the vague regrets about the past. You are flooding your consciousness with the evidence of your own good fortune. Another powerful Stoic gratitude practice is a form of negative visualization. We touched on this in the journaling section, but here we use it specifically for appreciation. You take a moment to imagine losing something you currently have. Imagine, just for a moment, that you did not have access to clean, running water. Imagine the difficulty of that. Then, open your eyes, turn on the tap, and feel the immense, miraculous luxury of it. Imagine that you had lost a dear friend. Recall the pain of that imagined loss. Then, think of that friend who is still in your life, and feel the surge of love and appreciation for their presence. Imagine your life without the knowledge you have gained from books. Then look at your bookshelf and see it not as a collection of objects, but as a treasure chest of wisdom and companionship. This is not about being morbid. It is about using contrast to reveal the true value of what you possess. We are so accustomed to our blessings that they become invisible. This practice makes them visible again. This is the metaphor of the open field. The anxious, wanting, discontented mind lives in a small, dark, locked room. The walls are covered with images of what is missing, what is wrong, what you lack. It is a claustrophobic and lonely space. The practice of gratitude is finding the key to that locked room. Each specific thing you feel grateful for is a turn of the key. And when the lock clicks open, you step out of that dark room and into a vast open field, bathed in the light of the morning sun. You see that you are surrounded by an immense landscape of goodness. The field was always there. Your attention was simply locked inside the room. What if the happiness you are chasing is not in the future, but is already here, waiting to be noticed? What if the feeling of abundance has nothing to do with what you own, and everything to do with what you appreciate? The emotional shift is one of the most powerful of all the habits. It is a movement from a feeling of lack to a feeling of abundance. From the pinched, anxious state of the ego to the expansive, peaceful state of the soul. You feel a lightness, a joy, a profound sense of connection to the simple goodness of being alive. This feeling is the antidote to envy, to resentment, and to the endless striving that defines so much of our lives. It is a state of deep and genuine peace. We have arrived at the final habit, the one that completes the circle. We have journeyed deep into the self-calming the mind, forging the will, and cultivating gratitude. Now we take all of that inner work and turn it outward, toward the world. The 10th habit, contemplating service, is the ultimate expression of Stoic philosophy. It is the understanding that the purpose of building a strong and virtuous inner citadel is not to hide inside it, but to use that strength to be of service to the human community. The self-improvement world often stops at the self. The goal becomes personal peace, personal success, personal happiness. The Stoics saw this as a noble but incomplete project. They believed that we are not isolated individuals, but parts of a much larger organism. We are, as Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, citizens of the world. He wrote, "What is not good for the beehive is not good for the bee." He understood that our own good is inextricably linked to the good of the whole. Humans are social animals by nature. To live a life focused solely on our own needs and desires is, therefore, to live a life that is contrary to our own nature. This is why a life of pure self-interest, even when successful, often feels empty and meaningless. We are designed for connection, for contribution, for service. The philosopher Heraclitus described our obligations using a series of concentric circles. The first, smallest circle is the self. Next comes our immediate family, then our extended family, then our local community, our country, and finally, the entire human race. The task of the philosopher, he said, is to constantly work on drawing these outer circles inward, to care for our community as we care for our family, and to care for humanity as we care for ourselves. This concept was called oikeiosis, the habit of contemplating service is the daily practice of this circle drawing. It is a conscious effort to shift your focus from your own small circle of concerns to the needs of the wider circles around you. It is the question that follows gratitude. Now that I have recognized my own immense fortune, how can I share some of it with others? Like the other habits, this is a practical morning contemplation. After you have finished your gratitude practice, you ask yourself a simple question: how can I be of service today? The key here is to think small, concrete, and immediate. This is not about solving world hunger. It is about identifying one or two specific opportunities for virtuous action. In the coming day, for your inner circle, my partner seems stressed. Today, I can be of service by making them a cup of tea without being asked, and by taking 5 minutes to listen to their concerns without trying to solve them. For your professional circle, there's a new person on my team who seems overwhelmed. I can be of service by taking 10 minutes to check in with them, to see if they have any questions and to offer my support. For your community circle, I will be going to the grocery store today. I can be of service by being exceptionally patient and kind to the cashier, by looking them in the eye and thanking them sincerely. For the wider world, I can be of service by sharing a helpful idea or an encouraging word online, instead of engaging in cynical or divisive arguments. Notice that these acts require very little time or money. They require attention, kindness, and a willingness to put someone else's needs ahead of your own, even for a moment. This is the essence of what the Stoics called pro-social action. This practice is the most powerful antidote we have to the poison of the ego. The ego is the part of us that is constantly obsessed with its own status, its own problems, its own narrative. What about me? What will I get? How am I perceived? Anxiety, resentment, and self-pity are the children of an overactive ego. When you genuinely contemplate how you can be of service, you are stepping outside of your ego. You are, for a moment, forgetting yourself. And in that act of forgetting, you find a profound sense of relief and purpose. It is impossible to be trapped in your own petty worries when you are actively focused on alleviating the weighting, the burden of another. Let's revisit the metaphor of the locked room from the previous habit. The room is the ego. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the door and lets you step into the open field. Contemplating service is the act of turning around, holding the door open, and inviting someone else to step out with you. It is the completion of the journey from isolation to connection. What if the meaning you are searching for in your life is not found in achieving more, but in contributing more? What if your own happiness is a side effect of creating happiness for others? This final habit ties all the others together. You wake with purpose. Habit 1, to be strong enough to serve. Practice stillness. Habit 2, to hear the needs of others more clearly. You journal. Habit 3, to clear away your own selfish anxieties so you have the bandwidth to care for others. You set an intention. Habit 4, that is often service-oriented. For example, to be kind. You move your body. Habit 5, to have the energy to contribute. You embrace discomfort. Habit 6, to be resilient enough to handle other people's problems. You read wisdom. Habit 7, and reflect. Habit 8, to understand your duties as a human being. You feel gratitude. Habit 9, for what you have, which naturally leads to a desire to give back. Contemplating service is the capstone of the arch. It gives a transcendent purpose to all the inner work. You are not building a strong inner citadel just to be safe. You are building it to be a lighthouse, a source of strength, warmth, and guidance for the ships sailing in the stormy seas around you. The emotional shift is from self-concern to selfless contribution. It is the final and most profound peace, the peace that comes not from getting what you want, but from giving what you have. It is the realization that a good life is not measured by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. We have walked a long road together this morning. We have journeyed from the violent shriek of the alarm clock to the quiet, purposeful contemplation of service. We have explored 10 distinct practices, 10 different doorways into a more intentional and tranquil life. And now, at the end of this journey, it is essential to return to the secret we began with. It was never about the habits. It was never about creating a perfect, rigid checklist that you must execute flawlessly every day. To see it that way is to miss the entire point. It is to turn a philosophy of liberation into a new cage of expectation, a new stick with which to beat yourself when you fall short. The true purpose of this entire practice, the single thread that runs through all 10 habits, is to build a new relationship with yourself. A relationship founded not on self-criticism, but on self-respect. Not on force, but on wisdom. Not on perfection, but on practice. Think of it as a single unified act of reclaiming the first hour of your day. It is a declaration that this first hour belongs to you. It belongs to your peace, your clarity, your strength. It does not belong to your email, to social media, or to the anxieties of the world. The 10 habits are simply tools in your toolbox. Some days you may have the time and energy to use all of them. Other days, all you may be able to manage is 60 seconds of stillness before the chaos of life begins. That is not a failure, that is a victory. The goal is not the perfect execution of the routine. The goal is the sincere intention to connect with your own center. However briefly, this is the final metaphor. The sunrise, you cannot force the sun to rise. You cannot command it with willpower or create a 10-step plan to make the dawn appear. It is a magnificent event that happens entirely outside of your control. All you can do is set your alarm, get yourself out of bed, find a place with a clear view, and be present for its arrival. Inner peace is the sunrise. You cannot force it. You cannot achieve it through sheer effort. These morning practices are your way of preparing for its arrival. The journaling clears the fog. The stillness calms the winds. The gratitude turns your face toward the light. The practices do not create the peace. They create the conditions for the peace that was always there to be witnessed. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the striving. Let go of the belief that you are a problem to be solved. You are not broken. You are a sunrise waiting to be seen. And the effects of this morning practice do not end when you walk out your front door. The choices you make in that first quiet hour do not shout. They echo. They resonate softly through the rest of your day, subtly changing the quality of your thoughts, the patience in your actions, and the peace in your soul. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. For a life of purpose, clarity, and peace, that first step is taken in the quiet, moments after you first open your eyes. It is the choice to turn inward, to honor yourself, and to begin the day on your own terms. Subscribe for more.